love and positive vibes. And I want to start by thanking our new subscribers and our returning subscribers. We appreciate you. You are the reason we sit down and shoot these videos every day. You motivate us, you inspire us, you make us to sit down and think about you each and every day. Thank you so much. We love you so much. Don't you ever doubt that. And today's video, I want to start by asking a question. Have you ever found yourself in a situation which is so shocking? You work so hard, very hard, and you earn some money, and you decide to save in a financial institution or in a bank, and to your shock, you receive a phone call that your money is no longer there. There has been a fraud, and all the money has been transferred to another account. This is the situation our Usain Bolt found himself in at one time, sometimes almost 2 years ago. It was so shocking to wake up one morning and receive a phone call that the money he had earned by working so hard was not in the account, and there was no explanation about it, and people could not, the bank workers, or rather the institution workers, could not explain how that money has gone. This is what happened to, I have said it happened to Usain Bolt. And he found himself losing a lot of millions of money. Actually, he was not the only one. There were about 200 people that had invested with SSR. So Usain Bolt, together with about 200 people, found themselves in this situation. They had actually kept their money in Stock Security Services, a company called SSL. And this company was actually managing the money for very many people. But one day, Usain Bolt, together with some 200 people, found that their money was not in their account. It is said that in this fraud, about $13 million disappeared from the accounts of about 200 people, and they found that the money they had earned was not in the account. And I want to say, this is not actually the first case I've had of fraud. Here in Kenya, there was what was called the golden bag. The golden bag was actually a fraud that involved some money and some transactions of gold. And a lot of people lost millions and millions of money through golden bag. Investigations were done, and even up to today in Kenya, we don't know who frauded the golden bag money, or who took the money in that scandal of golden bag. And I want to say also, we have had other scandals here in Kenya. Like there was this pastor, a priest, is it a bishop of a certain church, and he wanted to join politics, and yet he had a church, and he was selling to people some pieces of land. And people had invested a lot. Because one, you trust a man of God to be genuine, to speak the truth, and therefore you invest your money in this institution. And therefore this guy, it is said, he didn't buy the plots for these people. He never gave them the plots because they were giving money to buy the pieces of land. So they never got the pieces of land, and the money disappeared mysteriously. Even up to today, no one knows where that money went. There is a time I had heard he was to pay people, but it disappeared like that. What am I saying? I think in Jamaica, there is somehow a way things are solved that we don't have it here in Africa. A lot of money disappear in Africa and people forget about it and they don't talk about it because you have no avenue to air your grievances. But I want to say I was surprised at this fraud that happened in Jamaica, because after the fraud was discovered, SSL, Stock Security Limited, tried to say that they are going to solve the problem in-house. But it's like one of the regulatory organization of Jamaica did not allow them to do the investigations in an in-house way. Later, it was discovered that this was not just a small fraud, it was a huge fraud that involved a lot of money, and a lot of people. Former global track and field icon Usain Bolt was one of the people that actually was frauded. He had invested in this company, and it was said his money was actually a lot. I think $13 million or so. So he had actually invested $13 million, but the money that went together with for other people, it was billions and billions of money. And therefore, investigation started on SSL. And when the investigation started, I love what the Jamaican government, I think it is the Jamaican government that intervened in this case, whereby it was a case of fraud, because actually, in such a case, the common man of Jamaica would want to ask themselves, where are we if people like Usain Bolt can be frauded? Then what will happen sorry, to the common man who cannot actually be able to fight or rather to hire lawyers to represent them? And therefore people were wondering, where is it safe to actually keep our money? If this a security or a stock security limited cannot be trusted, who can we trust with our money? And therefore, investigations were started. Usain Bolt, remember that he's a sprinter who still holds the world's record for the 200 meters at 19.19 seconds, and 100 meters, he still have a record in 100 meters at 9.58 seconds, and it has not been broken by anyone. So it is a person who is known all over the world, and he's a famous person. He's known in Jamaica and even outside Jamaica because of his outstanding speed in these short distance races. And therefore the people of Jamaica have a reason to worry. If Usain Bolt money can get lost, then who can be trusted? Who can actually not be frauded? Because this is a well-known person, known by everyone, and his money disappears like that. And therefore, the common man will wonder, is my money, my little money safe? My little hard-earned money, is it safe? And I'm sure most of the Jamaicans that work in the diaspora do a lot of investment in some of these financial institutions, because you want to actually save your money so that you can be able to actually do a project in Jamaica or even outside Jamaica. But your country is the place that you can trust to actually save your money and actually put it in the financial institution in your country. And therefore, to find such a huge fraud, a massive fraud, to so many people that had invested in this company. Actually, when I was looking at the data, there are so many people that had invested in this company. And therefore, it is a company that was trusted. It is a company that was actually had a lot of trust from people, and that is why Usain Bolt and all the others, actually it is said one of the days, the current Prime Minister had thought about investing in this Stock Security Limited. So big people had invested in this company, and yet the money gets lost. It was very, very shocking to the people of Jamaica, to the common man, and actually to the people who had lost money. Let us go through the process of investigation into this fraud. So the investigation started. And one of the institutions that is actually the state regulatory institution of Jamaica that looks into these financial institutions and what they are doing and how they are handling people's money actually stood and came at a very swift speed to start investigation. And this institution is called the Financial Services Commission, FSC, of Jamaica. So they came in handy to carry out the investigation. The police were involved, and there were some dismissals of the people that were working in SSL. Remember that in this fraud, it was suspected some of the workers actually participated in the fraud. And therefore, there was dismissal so that they do not interfere with the case. And I love this move because I have told you that here in Kenya, we have had some fraud cases. And the people that actually are employed in that company are not sacked. They remain there and investigations are being done, and you wonder, how are you going to catch the thief if the people that were actually involved in the fraud are still working? So I left Jamaica and the move that this Financial Service Commission of Jamaica actually took to first dismiss the people that maybe were suspected and then involve the police to carry out investigation. Not just that, the FSC actually promised people that they are going to carry a transparency investigation so that everyone can know how this fraud came to be and people can get satisfied, and they promised to actually update people every time the investigations were going on. Apart from that, a company that was actually independent was hired, I think, from UK. And this company had no relationship with Jamaica. And this company actually was to come and do investigation, forensic audit on SSR so that they can actually determine what really happened during this fraud. The company was called, actually is called Crown Associates, a UK company that is actually known for such fraud cases. And they are also they have vast experience in such cases where there is a lot of complexity on the matter. And therefore they were called upon to come and carry out investigation. Can you see the move the government of Jamaica is actually taking? I really loved this because an independent company will actually give the right information and will move fast to find out how this fraud came to be, and there will be no hiding people or cornering when the investigations are going on. And therefore, FSC were to work hand in hand with the Crow Associates, the UK company. And therefore, investigation started. Let me tell you, I said earlier, 200 clients were affected by this fraud, and about $30 million was involved in this fraud. That is a lot of money, by the way. And therefore, investigation was very, very complex because you cannot just take $30 million and you think that that can be taken easily. And therefore, people had to wait. Actually, it has taken almost 2 years for this investigation to be completed and the culprits, the clients, to be promised that they are going to be paid back their money, the money they lost. They have actually waited for the last 1 year since the scandal broke in the late 2022. The State Regulatory, the Finance Services Commission, FSC, ordered the SSL to begin the payout soon after the investigations were completed. So we are going to come to the payment and how this payment came to be after the investigation. So we have seen that their company from outside, from UK, that was involved in carrying out the investigation, and the FSC was actually to be involved in the investigation. And FSC promised that they are going to do a thorough work and they are going to actually be transparent and accountable as the investigation were going on. Now, it was very, very shocking to these people to wake up one day and actually hear that their money has been transferred from their account to other accounts. You know that is very, very hard in a bank. Let us go on and see how this investigation was going on. I told you that there was a thorough investigation. After the investigation, a file was handed to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution for the consideration of criminal charges against individuals linked with the scandal. This is after the Crown company from UK did their investigation and wrote their outcome and gave to the handed in the investigation file to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution of Jamaica for the consideration of criminal charges against individuals linked with the case. SSL was actually bad, and I love this. That is another thing that I love. I'm going one by one, the things I loved about the investigation and how it was done, and the measures that were taken so that there will not be camouflaging or hiding the information by the workers that were still working in SSL. SSL was barred from disposing of any assets and issuing funds to clients or accepting new deposits until the case is determined. This was done by FSC. This regulatory board of Jamaica really did a lot of work. First of all, they dismissed the people that were working at SSL so that they will not interfere with the investigation. Then they come and bar SSL from carrying out any transaction on the clients or receiving any money from the clients until the case is determined. According to some reports, a wealth advisor in the company is the focus of the investigation. What's the focus of the investigation? So there was this woman, I think it's a woman, I'm going to tell you her name. This wealth person, he was actually a wealth advisor in the company, was actually suspected to be one of the people that were involved in the fraud. And therefore, I think she was the first person to be actually dismissed so that investigations can be carried out. At first, like I have said, SSL tried to resolve the problem internally, but they were told they cannot do this because the case was of high margin and the fraud involved a huge sum of money and very many clients. So what happened after this? So we found that investigation had started and one of the employees of SSL was being actually suspected to be involved in the fraud. And it was said, actually, it is only her that was actually caught by the police in regard to this case. Her name was Anne somebody. I'm going to tell you her full names when I get them. So, the media, of course, is involved in this case. And they are very keen to follow how the case is going. And this lady has been told that she's the one who actually did the frauding. She's actually the only one that was in the custody of police. This is a fraud of very great margin. And therefore the media doubted whether this was a one-man job. Given the skill set and knowledge required and the immense of the case, the amount of money stolen and the clients involved. So the fraud included bypassing of controls through forgery. So the first step to this fraud was forgery by bypassing of the controls, manipulating of SSR, IT systems and email addresses, and interception of disbursement of accounts in commercial banks. Do you see this is a complicated work that is being done? Of course, the IT people are involved. The control of systems people were involved. And therefore, this is not a job that would have been done by one person. And that is why the media doubted whether it is only one person involved. So imagine bypassing of the controls. This lady cannot do this work at all. Bypassing of the controls through forgery, manipulating of SSL IT systems. So the IT people might have had a clue. And the email addresses and interception of disbursement of accounts in commercial banks. And it is said, actually Usain Bolt could receive statements from SSL. Now they looked like they are genuine statements. So that is a very high order thuggery. And therefore, I don't think also it was just a one-man job. Usain Bolt manager, like I had said earlier, says his client was receiving what now appears to be fraudulent statements. So at first, the manager thought they are actually the statements from this company. But right after this case was actually, the fraud came out, they discovered that these statements were actually frauded statements. It is said that Andrew Holness may have been affected. It is said that Andrew Holness at one time mentioned investing in this company. So I don't know whether his money got lost or not. And therefore it is a huge scandal. A huge sums of money were stolen. Tom Linson of Business Recovery Services Limited as special auditor to examine the SSR operations before widening his role to temporary manager. In other words, this guy was hired by FSC. He was appointed and his name is Kenneth. His name is Kenneth. So FSC did several things. First, we found they involved the police. They dismissed some of the employees of SSL. They barred SSL from carrying out any transaction or actually depositing, allowing customers to deposit money into this security firm. Apart from that, FSC appointed Kenneth Tomlinson of Business Recovery Services Limited as special auditor so that he can carry out the auditing of SSL and know what was happening during the fraud. And therefore, later, he was actually made as the temporary manager of this company so that the people that were hired workers there or employed there do not interfere with the cases. The FSC prevented SSL from accepting new investments from the customers, as well as actually depositing or actually dealing with any money for the client. And the FSC cited that this company, SSL, was actually unsafe and unsound. It was unsafe for clients to continue trusting them and investing with them. So they were banned from doing any transaction, from actually any deposits or any transaction involving money or assets of clients until the case was determined. With the use of investment companies and money managers becoming more and more common in Jamaica, the society and some of the analysts were saying that the news of the fraud may have discouraged very many people from investing in these financial institutions and maybe prefer to invest in unions, credit unions, or banks. Jamaicans asked themselves, can we trust banks and bank-like institutions with our hard-earned money? And this is a very good question to the Jamaican people, because if this money for Usain Bolt was actually in this financial institution and it disappeared, then the common man may wonder whether their hard-earned money is safe. Jamaicans were very, very worried and very, very shocked by what was going on. But the government, or rather FSC, promised to carry thorough investigation and determine what happened, and actually the people affected to be returned for, or rather to be paid back their money. And I want to thank the investigating team and FSC and all the people that were involved in the investigation, because there is hope for the people that were involved in this fraud. It is saying that the money, the SSL has been ordered to pay back the clients their money, and they have sold some of their assets so that they can be able to pay back the money to the clients. And I'm sure the clients are very excited, because you cannot imagine such huge sums of money that you have worked hard to actually invest, or rather to save, and it goes missing. And therefore, I found this case very, very good, because in the long run, there was a win for the clients, and they are going to get back their money, and they are going to actually, even if it's paid in stages, because I found that the first amount of money to be dispersed will not be all the money they lost, but it is actually a fraction. And with time, it is going to pay them all their money. And therefore, I found that this was a thorough investigation. Maybe the Jamaicans in the house can comment in the comment section below and tell us whether this is what was happening, and whether the case was handled properly, and whether the payment have started. But I really, really appreciated the way the case was handled, comparing it with the way the cases are handled here in our country, Kenya. And therefore, this will be the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching us. Be blessed. See you during the next video.
Thank you.